Bram Resnick joins us now answering some of your questions about the coronavirus. Bram?
Yeah, a really big question right now. How bad will Arizona's economy get? The early signs, really bad. Our restaurants and hotels are shutting down. Historic numbers of people are applying for unemployment benefits. I'm hearing from more and more Arizonans losing their jobs in the last week or so. Not much consolation, but you're not alone. Look at the statewide numbers. There were 29,000 claims for first-time jobless benefits last week. That is 8 times the number the week before and triple the highest weekly number during the Great Recession, going back to April 2009. And this week looks even worse. In just 2 days, 24,000 people have filed for jobless benefits. Those benefits aren't much of a life preserver. Arizona's jobless benefits are the second lowest in the country, $240 a week, $960 a month. Congress and Governor Doug Ducey might beef up the benefits. One of the top questions I get, how many people have been tested for the coronavirus in Arizona? The answer is, we don't know. The problem has been a gap in the reporting. The state public health lab reports the number of tests it does, so far about 400. But the commercial labs that are doing most of the tests won't disclose how many people they've tested, and it could be well north of 1,000 or 2,000. But that's about to change. Governor Doug Ducey has ordered the labs to make that information public. And I've asked the Department of Health Services when that expanded reporting on tests will start. The answer, they don't know yet. Live in the Alert Center, Bram Resnick, 12 News.
Okay, Bram.